You know, the drivers were suggesting that the track was much more slippery this year. There was sealant that was put on as Andretti goes around Johncock, put on it since the last time when they were here, and they called it an ice skating rink. But we haven't seen much evidence of that out there today, Chip. The drivers have been handling it very well. And I'm also told that whereas last year a lot of the corners were third and fourth gear, this year they were second and third gears. They had to gear down.
Without a doubt. What they've done, although the track is not, we saw last year the track was breaking up too, and in many parts of the circuit it was one lane going through. I can attest to that. I was here. But now the track has seemed to stay together all day, although they probably, because of the slippery situation, had to gear down. It's important to point out that for as much as it hinders Mario Andretti, it hinders the man in last place also. So it's kind of relative throughout the whole field what it does to you.
Andretti will be looking for the white flag the next time around. Earlier in the broadcast, we mentioned Kevin Kogan, and there are some others who are laid up and no doubt watching. We want to let them know that we're looking forward to their return to the IndyCar circuit. Michael Chandler, Jacques Villeneuve, Rich Vogler injured in a sprint car accident about a week ago at the Terre Haute Action Track. And a very close friend of ours, Jeff Knuckles, injured in a midget crash about 2 weeks ago, convalescing in nearby Columbus, Ohio. And of course, Jim Gardner from the Die Racing team down in the Deep South had a heart attack a few weeks back. And we understand that Jim is getting along fine. We know all those people watch, and we want all of you to know that we miss you and look forward to your return to the speedways.
You know, Larry, I talked to Kevin Kogan the other day, and we might see him back here sooner than most people think. I'll tell you, I look forward to having him around. He's a good driver.
Here comes Andretti out of the carousel, uphill to the front stretch, the start-finish line. Well, not quite out of the carousel, yes. I guess I pushed him around a little too soon. Turns 15, turns 16. The road on the right is the entrance to the pits, uphill. Here's the start-finish line, the white flag from Nick Finoro as Andretti begins his last lap here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. He is looking for victory in the Escort Radar Warning 200. The pit crew, you can see Darrell Salvi, the crew chief. Boy, they're really uptight about this one, aren't they? Boy, when things go well, after you've worked all year, or all month, or all week, it's a good feeling.
You know, it's about this time in the car that Mario Andretti, I'm sure, is hearing little noises and wondering, he's just got one lap to go, and I'm sure that he's hearing all the little innuendos and noises in the car.
Does that really happen?
I'll tell you, Larry, it happens.
You think a guy like Mario, with all those wins, he's won in sprint cars, he's won in dirt cars, winner of the Hoosier 100, he's won races at the high-banked half-mile dirt at Eldora, Grand Prix, Formula One wins, he's won in midgets, all those years of experience, stock cars, he won the Daytona 500. You think they'd go away?
You would think it, but I know Mario can tell you, he still hears them each and every time around the track, and it's interesting because it's important also to drive just as hard on the last lap as you have all other 83 laps, because if you start to slow down, you might make a mistake then. That's what you have to be careful of. Stay in your rhythm.
You can see the great support that this Nazareth, Pennsylvania driver, originally out of Trieste, Italy, long time ago, he and the family migrated to Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and the people here in Ohio and central Ohio are supporting this man. Checkered flag out, and Andretti and the Lola have won again, the 6th win in a row for the Lola chassis, and the 7th in the last 8 races, and Andretti leads the league with 5 victories.
Gary talked earlier, you know, about pit stops and how, you know, they were going to play an important role in this race, and asked me about, Danny Sullivan's position way down at the end of the pits. I think it really played an important part in getting in and getting out. Been handed the stats here that shows that their entry time into the pits was both in the 8-second bracket. The crews worked on the time for, you know, right around 18 seconds, a little bit slower for, you know, the Bobby Rahal crew. But the exit time was a big difference. Danny Sullivan exited the pits in little over 2 seconds, because he is down at that end where Bobby Rahal was in the middle of the pits, and it took him a little over 6 seconds, in fact, almost 7 seconds for him to exit the pits. So the total time difference was enough to make that almost 6 seconds difference, and I think that let Danny Sullivan stay in the lead and make it a little harder on Bobby Rahal, the fact that now he's got to really play catch-up, which he's done, and run as hard as he can to get by.
And Rahal's making his move. Sullivan has slowed. Sullivan, the leader, has dropped out of this race. Rahal looked like he was getting ready to do it, Pancho, and Danny Sullivan has got problems.
I don't know what it was. He slowed down coming out of the keel, and now it looks like he's back up to speed again. He could be experiencing some transmission trouble and either lost a gear or maybe was not able to get it in gear when he wanted to. now we've got Bobby Rahal as our new leader. You can see he's really opened up on Danny Sullivan, who obviously has something wrong with his car.
Sullivan is not up to speed yet. It remains to be seen whether or not he'll stay out the remaining 10 laps or not. If it continues to decline, that is the speed, it's unlikely that Danny will stay out. There goes Bobby Rahal putting a lap on Desiree Wilson, who has a ride, her first one in a couple of years here in Indy cars. There is Danny Sullivan. Roberto Guerrero is moving up on Danny, and it looks like Roberto will be moving into the number 2 position shortly.
Yeah, it does. I'm not sure exactly what Danny's problem is. He may go ahead and make an entry into the pits, which he's doing right now. Maybe he feels he can get something done with the car and go back out and stay ahead of 4th place Kevin Kogan. But right now he's elected to come into the pits and get whatever his problem is remedied.
What a dramatic turn of events, not only for this race, but for the season-long point standings. Now, the first 4 cars. Sullivan got fuel.
Looks as though maybe they've got a fuel problem. He came in just for fuel, and he's out again. If he can get back up to the same pace he was running before, that rules out the transmission problem.
Well, I would describe the Penske crew as meticulous, but right now there is a bit of confusion because they're not really sure what the problem with Danny is. Danny himself on the radio said, "I thought I had a tire going down, so I backed out of the throttle." Then he thought, well, perhaps he was low on fuel as he came by, so he brought it into the pit area. They topped off the fuel. The crew, in fact, thought there might be a spark box problem. They said, well, you've got more fuel, the tire's okay, go back out and try it again. So right now he's just cruising around trying to determine what the problem is.
There is Sullivan cruising better than 170 miles an hour at the end of the backstretch and averaging 113 miles per hour. There is the leader, Bobby Rahal, and Roberto Guerrero has moved up to 2nd. Now the question becomes, is Roberto within striking distance of Rahal? And Pancho, let's make an assumption, or is it safe to assume that these 2 guys can go the distance? And look how close Guerrero is.
Well, you can see, and that came about because of the 3 cars you can see in the background there. In fact, we just had one of them experience a problem going down into turn 1. I think it was Jose Legarza had something let go in the rear wing, and he got into the dirt embankment right underneath the bridge there, the Goodyear Bridge.
Yeah, it's at this point not possible to tell exactly who it is, but we have had a very severe crash there. You can see it's at the end of the front stretch, going into the first left-hander, hitting the outside guardrail, the car coming apart.
Apparently made some contact with Randy Lewis and got off the course. You can see the black tire marks. He went off in, hits the guardrail and also the embankment that holds the bridge up there, or the ramp to the bridge. Luckily goes underneath the bridge and ends up back out on the edge of the track. You can see that is the 55 car, the car of Jose Legarza.
Jose Legarza from Mexico City, a young driver who was on that continual learning curve. He's had some pretty good races this year, but today ends up there you see in the debris just outside of turn number 1 here at Mid-Ohio. But the good news is, even though Jose is still trapped in the wreckage, is that he is awake, and the initial report, almost unbelievably, is that he is alert. By the way, the white flag has now been displayed while all this has been going on. This race is going to end under yellow. Bobby Rahal will be the winner. Knowing Bobby as I know him, this is not the way he wants to win a race. He probably would have liked to duel with Roberto Guerrero, but the points are so very important to Bobby too. You see the victory rate beginning. He is here in front of his home state and hometown fans. Understand he just built a new home on the golf course just adjacent to Murrfield, Jack Nicklaus's complex, of course. Jack, a graduate of the Ohio State University. Roberto Guerrero will finish in 2nd position. Danny Sullivan recovers in 3rd position, and any fuel pickup problem that he was having, this certainly helps it out a great deal. And Kevin Kogan turns in just a sterling performance. He stayed on the lead lap all day. He never got up among the leaders, but Kogan will finish in 4th position, and Al Unser Jr. will be 5th. Guess who's 6th? Derek Daly. Here comes the field snaking around. Almost hard to believe that this nearly silent procession is the field coming down for the last lap. Now, hopefully all the competitors' radios are working. The word has moved up and down the pit line that Jose Lee is conscious and out of the car, and they probably all know. Checkered flag coming up right here. There it is. You see it. Bobby Rahal taking the checkered flag, winning this year's Radar Escort Warning 200 here at Mid-Ohio.
get a green flag here. And that's an unusual start, Johnny, because they do it midway down the backstretch.
Yes, they move the start-finish line from in front of the pits over there for a cleaner start. It's a little more wide open. You have the long straightaway to contend with. Here we see the cars coming over that blind brow, a little bit close there for Emerson Fittipaldi and Rick Mears, so it's close racing. And right now the racetrack is in between. It's not quite wet and it's not quite dry, and we heard Bobby Rahal allude to that fact that that's when it's probably the most dangerous.
But Karts Chief Steward Wally Dallenbach elected a wet start. That means all these cars are using the rain tires, but we could see them pit early to go to dry tires. Your leader is it's not Bobby Rahal, actually Danny Sullivan. Rahal is in second. Directly behind Rahal in the white car and challenging is Mario Andretti. Andretti takes a peek to the inside, and it looks like there's a slight advantage, at least at the present, Johnny, for Danny Sullivan, but it tends to go away as we get ready to come to the carousel portion of this racetrack. Rahal is beginning to close just a tad.
Well, this is that point where it's very slippery out there, and the guys with cold tires, cold shocks, the cars ride a little bit rough. You've got to take it a little bit easy. We have a spin.
Teo Fabi has spun in turn number 14. Fabi, as you can see, is resting almost in front of the entrance to pit road. The Quaker State Porsche is still running. He pulls back out on the racetrack. And in the interim, while that spin was going on, back up front, it was Mario Andretti taking over second position. Now Andretti has taken up the challenge for the lead, held by Danny Sullivan. Sullivan rounding out of the keyhole and heading down the 3,100-foot back straightaway here in Mid-Ohio.
Mario is very, very good in the wet. In fact, he's probably considered to be one of the best IndyCar drivers in the wet. He has turned laps nearly as fast on some tracks in the wet as he did in the dry. There he is going for the pass, and he makes it.
A real nice move, and oh, he almost loses it. He had to carry it in a lot deeper than he cared to.
There's that slick part of the racetrack. The groove where you would normally run when it's dry is very slippery, and because the tires have polished the pavement, you have to move outside. You saw him slide through that slick part, push the front end, get out into that sandpapery edge, you would like to call it, where he can get some traction, and that's where you've got to run. You'll see them, as long as it's a little damp, running a little bit wider in some of the areas.
Well, there was some calculated risk-taking early on in this race, and I almost kind of wonder if that was really the wise thing to do. But let's go back and look at the pass one more time. And Johnny, it looks as if he went in a little deeper, as we said, and almost lost it.
He just flat out braked Danny Sullivan into the corner. There you see the front end push. It went straight for a little bit. He was heading for that outside part so he could get some traction.
Well, Sterling Moss once said you only race hard enough to win. And for Mario Andretti, that's always been his technique. But it's kind of interesting to me to see him challenge this early. Could it be that he's trying to pad his lead to come in for dry tires?
I think so. That's obviously that's the strategy at this point. He wants to take advantage of the way his car is working, which is obviously very good. He is there. You saw a tear-off lens come off of his helmet. He pulled it off so he'd have a clear vision and be able. He's out front now. No more spray. He got rid of that. He's opening up a lead.
Now, in the interim, as Andretti continues to lead as he rounds out of the keyhole, look at this battle. Bobby Rahal has gotten by Danny Sullivan, and directly behind Sullivan is Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi and Michael Andretti. A gaggle of cars there as they head down the backstretch.
That is a real race right there.
Now, how difficult is it to be in the front of that sort of heat going down 3,100 feet of asphalt here at Mid-Ohio, Johnny?
Well, I can tell you what, being back in it is the difficult part because you get a lot of spray on your... Oh, we've got a spin. Danny Sullivan spins. Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti is off of the racetrack.
Now remember, this could cause problems for all these cars, not necessarily bending the cars up, but because of the wet we've had all weekend, it is very slick out there, and Andretti seems to be doing the best getting back out.
Yes, he made it back all the way across that long expanse of grass, and he's back on the race course, getting his tires clean so he can do a little catching up.
That's a very good point, Larry. And in fact, as we look for a pass here for the lead, Emerson Fittipaldi again, just carrying it in way deeper. Mario Andretti, as they go to madness, battles on the high side, but Fittipaldi takes the lead.
There's two world champions right there, Mario Andretti and Emerson Fittipaldi, both with a great deal of Formula One experience and racing in this type of weather condition. Emerson obviously has got the better car at this point and has gone for the lead and taken it.
Emerson Fittipaldi, just moments ago, put Teo Fabi 1 lap down after the exchange of rubber. So he's continuing to set a torrid pace. And Johnny, the track is just about totally dry. So this team is going to have to consider a pit stop momentarily.
They're going to have to, because the tires now will start heating up, as we discussed earlier. Mario Andretti's in the pits. He's going for the dries, getting a load of fuel. So, you know, this is going to be interesting, because if it rains again, we're going to see this whole thing all over again for the rain tires.
Well, Mario Andretti may have forced the issue just a bit, because he decided to be the first to pit. Carl Haas, Tyler Alexander, and the rest of that crew saying, hey, we couldn't keep the pace with Andretti, so let's force the issue for Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi still showing the rib tires, those gator back tires, but they're going to begin to come apart, and he's going to have to come into pit road very shortly. We'd like to welcome you, those of you that have been following the action in the Southern 500. We're here at the Radar Escort Warning Detector 200, and Emerson Fittipaldi is your leader. But the story thus far has been what was determined as a wet start has now been determined that dry tires, slick tires, are necessitated. Some of the lead contingent have already pitted. Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, Mario Andretti, but your leader here, Emerson Fittipaldi, continues to circuit the racetrack on wet tires, the rain tires, and now he presents his car on pit road. You can see him trying to go just as fast as he can to the service of the Marlboro pit from the Pat Patrick Racing Team. They will make the exchange, Johnny Rutherford, and
it's going to have to be quick, because Mario has already made his stop and got the dry tires on. All of these precious seconds, they've refueled the car, they've got the tires on the car, he's away. He may be able to maintain the lead. Now they're making a wing change. There he goes. Now he's away. He might be able to maintain that lead. He had enough of a lead on Mario after Mario stopped, so this is going to be interesting to see.
So far, it looks as if he's been able to make the exchange. Indeed, he has. Emerson Fittipaldi continues to lead here. Mario Andretti is second. We look at Bobby Rahal. Indeed, he is ready to come into the pits. And here's a good example of what Gary Lee alluded to. Right out of the groove, you've got to come out of that pit entrance, negotiate the switchbacks, and he's coming right down to his pits, and Gary Lee is there to cover the exchange of tires once again. Gary?
Well, we can tell you it is raining harder now in the pit area. The True Sports Budweiser Red Roof Inn goes to work. Changing all 4 tires, they will top off the fuel, but again, it will not be enough fuel to go the distance, so we'll see at least one more pit stop, and if it continues to rain, then stop, then rain again, we can see a number of pit stops. Oh, he pulls out right in front of Mario Andretti, blocked Mario as Mario enters the pit area to change to rain tires. We almost had a collision here in the pit lane.
So Mario Andretti is on pit road. Let's go to Larry Newber. Larry.
Well, Jack, the Danny Sullivan crew, headed by Chuck Sprague, is over the wall. They bolted over the wall when Rick Mears went by. Danny apparently has radioed into them that he's coming. He is not coming off the carousel yet and around that pit entrance. But Chuck Sprague's hand is up. Danny Sullivan's hand is up, signaling John Jones directly behind him that, hey, I stop here at the first stall. He comes to a stop right on the mark. The jacks go up. The tires come off. Obviously, fuel is going in, but this is a stop primarily for the rain tires. This could go on and off all day long because the rain does not look like it's going to be steady. The clouds are still broken overhead, although I will tell you that it's much grayer than it has been at any time today during this race.
Well, Larry, as we heard you talk about the impending arrival of Danny Sullivan at one end of pit road, we got to watch Mario Andretti's crew complete their work at the other end of pit road. And Johnny Rutherford, they really did a quick stop.
Yes, and that's what it's all about. If you can get in and out faster than everyone else, that is your advantage. You're able to make that quick stop, get him out there. Now if he has to come back in, he'll have that little bit of margin that he gained on that very quick stop. If you do it again, you keep adding that up. That's what won the race for Danny Sullivan at Portland. He was able to get in and out of the pits just a little quicker. That adds up at the end.
There's your leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, coming up upon number 55. This is when race traffic really comes into play, and the visibility, Johnny, especially when you're working this race traffic. How do you compensate for the blindness that you've got?
It's nearly not there. It's almost a case of where you're like running in smoke. You can't see anything. It's very thick. You can see as the car went away from the camera there a while ago with the spray behind it, it blocks it, obliterates the car. And you can see they have little lights, little tail lights on the cars, which we call rain lights. You have to turn those on when it starts raining. And when you can see how the spray gets on that. It's very, very dense, very heavy. You can't even see that light. So it's a situation where you've really got to be on your toes, and you drive your own race in your own race car. That's about all you can do.
Howdy Holmes got his car back started again. The Jiffy Mixes special from the Alex Morales stable, and Emerson Fittipaldi passes him once again like he did several laps back. Fittipaldi has really slowed the pace down, especially in the madness portion of this course. He is really picking and choosing his line. And we notice the line is moved back out again.
Back out to that sandpaper edge where the cars don't run. You see him slide. He'll get right out against the gray part, or where the changes from the shiny to the flat colored part. Here's that bad top where you rise over and you can get light when it's dry. Well, it's very slippery there. And of course, he's out the outside edge of the track. You can watch the classic wet road racing line here. He's down there. You have to be, because you come out to the edge of the road very quickly here, and down, then heading for the carousel. And the proper line will be moved to the outside. There you can see him. He slips and slides, comes back across the inside. He's got the classic line, and it's very wet, wetter than when we started the race.
Emerson Fittipaldi was literally saved from a major disaster on pit road just moments ago when he came in to take on fuel and exchange tires. Here's what happened, Johnny Rutherford.
Yes, he was in the pits. The guy came off with the hose, which is supposed to be the indication. He nearly runs over the guy, but you can see the vent line is still hooked to the car. It had stuck in the receptacle.
And the man that went just a skittering into pit wall is Larry Faust. And Gary Lee, you're there. Larry's going to certainly be a little black and blue tomorrow.
Well, there was some concern that they did not get enough fuel in during that stop because of the miscommunication. Now, Larry Faust has now recapitulated everything that happened and says, yes, we think we have about 30 gallons of fuel in the car. They knew they had about 19 gallons of alky in the car's fuel tank at that last stop. So they got at least 11 gallons in. That should be enough to go the distance for Emo.
Now, Johnny, as we saw, the fuel vent hose came unhinged. So one of the things that you do is you recapture all of that fuel in the vent hose to pour back into the tank to make an accurate measurement. So it's really kind of seat of the pants calculations right now.
It is, for a fact, and that could be one of the things to watch for Emerson toward the end of this race, is just how much fuel he did get and whether it is going to be marginal for him.
Don't know if it's the Latin blood in Emerson Fittipaldi or the fact that he knows that he may be running on borrowed time, but he is closing quickly on your leader, Mario Andretti, as they work through the switchbacks and prepare to present themselves at the keyhole. Now, there's 5th, 6th, and 7th. Teo Fabi leads Al Unser Jr. and Danny Sullivan. Fabi, you recall, had some problems, and of course we certainly chronicled the problems that have befallen Al Unser Jr. and Danny Sullivan. They are a lap down to your leaders, but they are battling with, you know, this is a chase for points too, because these guys, 2nd and 3rd in the point standings, and Danny Sullivan, who after Pocono, I mean, really before Pocono, thought he had a commanding lead for the championship, now finds himself chasing Bobby Rahal. This is a great battle here.
Yes, it is. And of course, every see Al Unser Jr. has moved by. They both moved by. He and Sullivan is pressing Al Jr. So this could be the battle here, you know, for the points thing. It depends on where Rahal and Emerson wind up.
Sullivan is so mild-mannered when he's in front of a camera. You know, he says all the right things. But many people say that once he straps himself in the cockpit and gets the shield, and look.
Oh, no.
Rahal and Ludwig Heimrath.
Ludwig Heimrath Jr. are both off. Rahal is against the guardrail there. He's taken the... Uh-oh, he's coming out of the car.
He's not at all happy.
No, he is not. He's going over to have a few words with Heimrath Jr., and that's really a shame. You know, I'm sure Rahal is certainly upset, and rightfully so, about that, because that's a point. When you get in that situation, here's the replay. We'll watch and see exactly what happened.
Remember, we've talked about race traffic for many, many times and throughout this race. Let's see what happens.
Here he comes up on the inside, tries to make, and he lost it. That was the problem. He lost it in a slick spot, and they both.
You can't fault Heimrath for that.
No, you really can't. But that's, you know, that's racing, and that's the way it goes, and it's sickening for in Bobby's place, leading in the points. Now he's obviously going to lose that position to one of the other guys. see they're all four under a blanket, and it's an interesting race.
The man that's been following the fortunes of Emerson Fittipaldi from pit road is Gary Lee. Gary, you've got a comment.
Well, a comment, in fact, Jack, on both Emo and on Mario. You'll recall earlier that Carl Haas said the car was not handling all that well before they went to the rain tires the second time. When they made that tire change, they made some adjustments to Mario's front wings. Mario has not made any indication since then if, in fact, that corrected the handling difficulty. Now, according to the Emo camp, he has always been able to use that Chevrolet horsepower to run somebody down, then outbrake them. He can't do that now because Andretti also has the Chevrolet. So it's a dogfight between two former world champions, both with the same chassis and both with the same power plant.
Well, now let's see as they work down the 3,100-foot backstretch one more time if Emerson Fittipaldi may have just a slight advantage as he continues the assault. This time he tries the outside.
No, he still can't quite. That's the closest he's been so far, and he's making a move. He is going around on the outside. He gets to the edge of the grass, makes the move. Fantastic drive by Emerson Fittipaldi, going by Mario Andretti.
That was artistic. There's no other word for it.
No, that was a perfect textbook, picture book pass. We're down to the very last laps, and he's just pushing. I'm sure he's showing that he can do that job.
Remember at the beginning of the show, we talked about parity. We talked about the domination of the Chevrolet. 4 men running Chevrolets accounted for the victories in the first 9 races. Then, of course, Rahal's win in the Judd. Al Unser Jr. was the last man to be victorious driving a Chevrolet. Emerson Fittipaldi is the only Chevrolet team driver that is yet to score a victory. So it could be 5 for 5 for Chevrolet and 1 for Judd. If Fittipaldi can hold on to the remaining 2 laps and score his first victory of 1988.
This is where we're getting down, Jackie, to that situation that he had back in the pits a little bit earlier today on his last pit stop, whether or not he in fact did get enough fuel in the car to go the distance. It's going to show up here any minute if he's having a problem.
Now, is there anything that you as a driver can do, you know, to maybe try and ensure that you have a little bit more fuel than under normal circumstances? He certainly is no longer feeling the hot breath of Mario Andretti. I'm sure he knows that Al Unser Jr. is a lap down to him. You know, can he save the car a little bit?
Yes, he can start short shifting the car, not running it up in the RPM to where it uses the amount of fuel. And the best thing I think for him to do right now would be to pull over and let little Al get by and just kind of coast to the finish with these few laps left.
Emerson Fittipaldi from Brazil calls Miami his home. We talked about his boat business. He has a booming automotive business as well, manufacturing accessories. And Al Unser Jr. really chomping at the bit, as they say, trying to get around Mario Andretti. And, you know, shades of Meadowlands as well. Now, that was a battle for the lead, but I'm sure that Emerson has got to be thinking about that as well and saying, maybe I ought to let him go by, especially as they begin to round out of the keyhole and go to race traffic. But there now we see the reason why Unser Jr. is trying to get around Emerson Fittipaldi. It's because of this man, Danny Sullivan. Where did he come from?
Well, he didn't fall out of an airplane and just land there. I can assure you he has moved and used the muscle of that Chevrolet and pulled into position.
And listen to this. That last lap, Danny Sullivan turned a 109-mile-per-hour lap. By 2 miles per hour, the fastest lap of the race.
How about that? Well, he's on the move, and of course he wants to get up there and challenge for this position with Al Unser Jr. Emerson's just sitting there waiting for the checkered flag virtually, and hopefully he'll be able to stay out of trouble, not have any problems, and we'll see what happens here in a few minutes.
So Danny Sullivan all over the back deck lid of the Valvoline car from the Rick Gallis stable, being piloted by Al Unser Jr. In the meantime, Emerson Fittipaldi not being challenged for position, but being challenged by fuel consumption, continues out of turn number 15 and takes the checkered flag. He is the winner of the race today. Sullivan will have to settle for 5th position, Unser Jr. 4th, Rick Mears hangs on for 3rd, and Mario Andretti will take 2nd.
Michel Jourdain's best race of the year has come to a stop on the grass, at least it appears to have. He skidded off, and now Scott Pruitt pits from 4th place. Jack Arute awaits him.
And Jim McGee made a call at the 11th hour to get it one additional lap, but Pruitt had already committed to pit road. The fueler will add the fuel. It is a time stop. Make sure they've got enough fuel to complete the distance. No tire change. He's tapped with a stick. He's off and away in 8.4 seconds. And guys, if Alex Zanardi can make a stop in 8.4 seconds, he could continue to lead this race because he's got an 18-second advantage over second place Greg Moore. Wait and see.
Well, of course, Jack, don't forget, that's the time spot from when he stops in the pits. He's still got to get in the pits, and you lose a lot more than 8 seconds coming down pit road and getting out.
But Danny, the big question mark is, can Alex Zanardi do it in 10 seconds? If he does, then boy, have we got a whale of a finish brewing here in the Miller 200.
And Jack, the cheerleading from the crew to Greg Moore, they're telling him he's on a perfect pace, so they like what they're seeing in terms of fuel consumption. This could get real interesting.
And we have seen Greg Moore get great fuel mileage, not only at Milwaukee, but also at Detroit. Oh, and guess who that's going to help? All those guys that have not.
What we're talking about is a full course caution. Our second of the day, waving from the finish line stand. What a break for Greg Moore and this man, Alex Zanardi. Zanardi immediately dives for the pit lane. Car pulls out ahead of him, Jackaroo.
Bob, we said in a pre-race show on ESPN2, the man who called the best tactical race would win. For Chip Ganassi, sometimes luck comes into play in terms of tactics. This yellow flag has given him the advantage. A 5.4 second stop, and Zanardi continues to lead.
Oh my, a 5.4 second splash and go with 12 laps remaining in the race. Here at Mid-Ohio, we are ready for a restart after a yellow flag. Some of the teams topped up, others stayed on the racetrack. Alex Zanardi came in for a very quick splash and go. He is the race leader with 2 lapped cars between himself and the second place man, Greg Moore. We're back underway on lap 74, and even I know that means 9 laps remaining. Arndt Meyer and Parker Johnstone in the green and white car ahead of Greg Moore, who will be desperate to get past them.
I didn't understand that one, why Parker was really trying to block Greg in that particular position there. He's definitely not racing him for a position.
Now just Arndt Meyer remains between the race leader and Greg Moore.
Let's not forget that race leader, though, came in and has a lot of fuel on board, so he can turn it up and he'll be racing hard.
The order is Zanardi, Moore, Bobby Rahal in third, Raul Boesel in fourth, Jimmy Vasser fifth, Gilles de Ferran sixth, Dario Franchitti seventh after the pit stops, Scott Pruitt eighth, Mauricio Gugelmin ninth, and Michael Andretti 10th. Through turn one. Meyer driving the Lola chassis. Just quick enough to give Greg Moore problems, but there Moore slides underneath in the keyhole with an assist from Meyer, who got out of the way. Look at Alex Zanardi's average lap speed compared to Greg Moore, bottled up behind traffic. 2 mile-an-hour difference. Now Moore can turn it loose if he can in his effort to overtake Alex Zanardi. This morning, those of us here at Mid-Ohio were watching coverage of the Formula One World Championship, a victory for Jacques Villeneuve in Hungary. The producer for Canadian coverage of the PPG Kart World Series said, oh, just the first Canadian victory of the day. 2 laps to go. Does Greg Moore have it in him? As Alex Zanardi flies over the horizon.
Well, the same problem that Bobby would face, even if Greg Moore catches him, he still has to find a way around him.
There is the gap. Greg Moore turning his fastest laps of the day. Rahal in the distance. Oh, Dario Franchitti in for a splash of fuel.
Dario just can't get a result. He's been so close and leading, and Always something little seems to take him out of a good finish.
Boy, these points today will be like oxygen to Greg Moore, who has scored none in his last 3 races after that terrific run at midseason. Victory on the mile at Milwaukee and the street course at Belle Isle in Detroit. White flag from the flag stand. Jim Swinthal now waves it over Greg Moore, but Alex Zanardi is out front with 2 1/4 miles to go to his 4th checkered flag of the season. And an even fatter lead in the points. Greg Moore came into the weekend 5th in the championship. Paul Tracy, 2nd to Alex Zanardi, is out. Gilles de Ferran, who came in 3rd, runs back in 6th place. So Alex Zanardi is in a perfect position right now. But he still has about 1.5 miles to go. And the victory will be worth a $5,000 donation to the Target House Fund at St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Hiro Matsushita very slow on the racetrack. Perhaps out of fuel. Just a couple of quarters remaining for Alex Zanardi as the young Italian goes for his 7th career victory, his 4th of the season, and his 3rd in the last 4 races. He now has it, back-to-back wins at Mid-Ohio.
Andre came in and Moore had to stop. Once Andre got in the box, Moore took off as I was carrying my tire out. His left rear hit the tire I was carrying, knocked it out.
We've got to go back upstairs.
We've got a car
problem.
Big problem. Several cars off, and one of them has flipped over. 3 cars involved. Michael Andretti.
Like Michael Andretti looked like Mark Blundell in that bright Motorola colored car.
Safety team on the scene. I believe that's down in the runoff at turn 3.
Look at that, tires, wheels everywhere.
I believe I heard Michael speaking on the radio. There's Blundell's car in the foreground.
Somebody else walking away from it.
P.J. Jones.
P.J. Jones walking away from his car.
And according to our timing and scoring, Jones was running in the top 10. There's Andretti's car. You can see the damage. Kart safety team under Dr. Steve Olivey and Director of Safety, Lon Bromley. Off comes the helmet. Let's take a look at a wild ride for Michael Andretti from his camera.
Okay, through the kink on the back straightaway. 2 cars in front of him. Slips inside. He taps PJ, trying to pass him. Look at that. And he lands upside down on the track. Rolling again, tumbling. Look at that. What a ride through that. Oh. That is unbelievable. And is that not a testament to the safety of these cars that this guy's looking to get out of there?
Another look from overhead.
Now that was Zanardi and J.J. Lado, and they touched and took off J.J. Lado's wing. And look at Michael come through. Oh. Unbelievable.
2.3 seconds behind the front-running pair is Bobby Rahal in 3rd. And there is Rahal. What a day for him in his final appearance here. His 16th start in a champ car at what is his home track. And in fact, if you stretch the point a little, Bobby Rahal has another home track coming up next week when we go to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin and Mammoth Road, America.
Look at that. Scott Pruitt is right behind Adrian Fernandez. I wonder if there are any team orders right now. I would imagine the only ones are don't take each other out of this race.
Well, Adrian Fernandez runs 5th in the championship. Scott Pruitt is 6th. Helio Castro Neves has ripped the advertising off the wall in a grinding crash. Stove in the right side of Tony Bettenhausen Alumax sponsored Reynard. Moving around in the cockpit.
But unless he jumps out of that car, I would imagine they will just about have to go full course yellow. They cannot leave him there. Who's this behind him? Alex Zanardi, trying to find a way around him. Goes inside, outside. same place that we saw the accident earlier. Got on the grass.
Well, another unfortunate meeting between turns 3 and 4 as Alex Zanardi tries to bull his way forward, currently in the number 12 spot. So he moves back into the championship points, does Zanardi. While up front, Adrian Fernandez will have 1 lap to go. White flag this time by, and it waves from the flag stand for Adrian Fernandez with Scott Pruitt just behind.
And they do not want to give a full course yellow, obviously, with 1 lap to go. They don't want to end under a yellow. They're going to put a local yellow out in that area.
2 1/4 miles to go, less than that now.
Scott Pruitt knows that the only place he's going to be able to get by Adrian Fernandez is at the end of this straightaway, right down under braking into turn 3. This is probably his last chance right here.
He's not close enough.
And you can only hope for Adrian to make a mistake now. Adrian, of course, moves well away from that accident. Pruitt will close up a little bit here. It's now down to Adrian. No mistakes from inside the cockpit. Slower car in front.
Where will they catch the slower traffic up ahead? In the carousel? Without question now, it will be the 300th win for Ford, 12th in a row this season for Firestone. And as the slower traffic moves aside, they come across the line in formation. Adrian Fernandez picks up his 3rd career victory, his 2nd of the season.
Okay, Jerry Baker, they're in front of you in the keyhole.
And the first 3, 4, 5 rows are beautifully lined up. Vitor Mira running singularly by himself. Mark Janes gets set. That Penske power is coming your direction.
And they're headed toward Thunder Valley. Be a couple of seconds before they get there, but a roar and a lot of spray, rooster tails, if you will, off the cars. Side by side goes Team Penske into the first turn. Elio has the advantage to the bottom side. He'll grab the spot. Briscoe tucks in behind him. Then Marco Andretti has the 3rd spot. Then it's Justin Wilson. Welded, TK going side by side, but back up front again. Elio Castroneves works his way underneath the Honda Bridge and heads toward Thunder Valley.
They crest the hill for the first time, and Elio has about a 4-car length advantage on Briscoe, then Marco, then Justin Wilson, Scott Dixon, and Tony Kanaan. We watched the entire field go through here. Mario Marias trying to make a move on Bernoldi, didn't get the job done there near Kevin Lee.
Here's Elio Castroneves, 7-car lengths in front of Ryan Briscoe. It loses some momentum, and Justin Wilson takes a look to the outside, now coming to the inside. Now for 4th position, Dixon and Marco Andretti are side by side, and Dixon has already jumped from 6th to 4th on the first lap.
Meantime, Justin Wilson, who has gone to 3rd as we watch the leaders move in front of us. Here comes, and what do we got? Vitor Mira already on pit lane, so Kevin Lee, just 1 lap shown complete, and Vitor is already going to go, it looks like, to the dries.
That's it. They're going to change to the racing slick, so they're going to take the rain tires off. Darren Manning is going to do the same. A really quick stop for Vitor Mira. Manning going to racing slicks, and he'll be back out in just a moment.
So 1 lap complete. Darren Manning is in, and we've already got Vitor Mira in.
We can tell you Marco Andretti did peel off, but Elio Castroneves, the race leader, stayed out. So did Tony Kanaan. So both the 26 and the 11 are in pit lane.
The car in 2nd place right now, Justin Wilson making a nice move underneath Elio Castroneves, putting all his Formula 1 and Formula 3000 experience to work on road courses, and a nice, smooth, calculated move going down into turn 2 into the keyhole, Marty, for Justin Wilson.
Well, and remember, Justin has qualified well at every road course race, never lower than 4th this season. Take a look at all the action going on in pit lane as cars are also getting onto the rains, or off the rain tires and onto the slicks, but Justin has not been able to finish strong on the road courses. Had a lot of misfortune. And whoop, we've got our first spin, Mario Marias. And boy, if you get on the grass right now, it is going to be very difficult to get out of there. It is so slick. We're told that that is a local yellow, so the race course stays green. And there is Scott Dixon saying, Elio, I want a piece of 2nd place.
Now the car you saw at Mario Marias that was actually in the grass had a fresh pair of slicks on. The thing you have to be careful with once you put on slick tires is that when you go over the sections that are wet, you've given yourself enough leeway room that if the car starts to slide, you can still catch it. Now, all the top 3 leaders know that it's going to be faster to have slicks on here, so they peel in. Time to change tires.
Well, Justin Wilson is our race leader coming in, so we'll send it to Vince Welch.
Well, they encourage Justin nice and easy. They're going to put on the slicks, of course, fill it full of fuel. No chassis changes. Jackaroo.
Meanwhile, Castroneves going to the dry tires. He is running with more downforce than they had originally anticipated because of the wet conditions. They felt they needed to come in as early as they did. He beats the queue out, and also Scott Dixon was also on pit road going to the dries, guys.
Whoa, and look at Wilson as he goes flying off course, manages to make a nice save from getting anywhere close to the barriers, but after dropping 2 spots in the exchange of tires in pit lane, he has dropped a lot more.
Now, it's important to note here, Marco Andretti, who's in second, who's now drafting Helio Castroneves. He's been out on his dry tires for a lap or so. His tires will be up to temperature and probably up to pressure and should be able to make this move. Yes, he's now got it done.
And we should tell you that is not for the race lead. Of course, that is further back. That's for about 5th position right now. The race leader is Ryan Briscoe, followed by Vitor Mira and Darren Manning. Remember, Mira and Manning, they came in on the very first lap. We're keeping tabs on all this. Here is Ryan Briscoe as how he peels off.
Now the question was, did he stay out just a little bit too long and maybe didn't get enough speed those last couple of laps, Jackaroo?
Scott Goodyear, remember there's a new pit wall here as well. It's counter height, like in your kitchen. These crews have to clamber over it. They're going to take the wets off, exchange them for the dry. Let's see if they make a wing adjustment. No, they don't. Ryan Briscoe is off and away.
So the early race strategy by the 4 and the 14 has paid huge dividends. Vitor Mira is your race leader. Darren Manning is in second. Will Power, who came in the very next lap, is now in third. And those 3 have a sizable margin over the rest of the field. As you see Ryan Briscoe continue now with only 2 laps remaining here. Take a look at the gap. There is the gap to second. His teammate Helio Castroneves and Scott Dixon. Now they're of course the top 2 in points. Dixon leading Castroneves. Further back, you saw that it was Will Power and Oriol Servia still checking each other out, seeing if the gap is there for Servia. There's certainly a closer gap between those 2 than it is up front. Here comes some action a little bit further back. That's Tony Kanaan in the 11 car. Looked like he was going around lap traffic there.
He's trying to chase down Vitor Mira in the number 4 Delphi National Guard machine.
Yeah, Mira in 6th, Kanaan in 7th. And there is the gap between those 2. And this time the white flag is out. And we just went past the 2-hour mark. So here we are on the final lap. And Ryan Briscoe can let it breathe a little bit. Doesn't have to push it. He's been running some great laps. His last lap was a minute 10.4. Helio Castroneves, to give you an idea, was 109.9. Take a look at Team Penske's record here at Mid-Ohio. 6 poles, 6 wins, 23 top 5s, and they've led 524 laps. If this holds up, it'll be the first 1-2 finish for Team Penske since the second race of the 2005 season. That was back at Phoenix. Gives you an idea how long it has been for a 1-2 finish for Team Penske. But we're not quite finished yet. Briscoe's lead, as he is letting it breathe a little, now down to about 8.5 seconds. But all he has to do is keep all 4 wheels on the asphalt. Up through turns 10 and 11, into turn 12 for Ryan Briscoe. This will be his 2nd career IndyCar win. It'll be his 1st on a road course, and the 7th win at Mid-Ohio for Team Penske.
Hey, great job. What a driver. Held your patience. Tell him who you are now, buddy. Good job. Great job, guys.
Helio Castroneves finishes 2nd. Scott Dixon 3rd. Will Power and Oriol Servia finish 4th and 5th for a great run for KV Racing.
Dixon is now almost 28 seconds ahead of these guys. But they're having their own nice little battle here.
Yeah, Dixon, you know, here we look down the long back straightaway. You think we could look ahead and see where Dixon is up there, but no, he's already in the back twisty section.
By the way, Tony Kanaan has moved up to 10th position after his early off track. There's a white flag. One more lap to go. 2¼ miles left for Scott Dixon on a Sunday afternoon in Central Ohio. Scott Dixon took the lead on the 37th lap and is just about a half a lap away from victory. Will also take the points lead by 3 if he crosses the line ahead of everybody else. I don't think I saw him make a single mistake, did you?
Now put a wheel wrong that we saw.
Yep.
What a great, I mean, that takes just focus, concentrate. I mean, just what he's done on the in-laps and out-laps that are the keys to these things. He's done it better than anybody. Fantastic.
Well, Scott Dixon comes off the 13th corner, gets the double checkers, and wins his 20th career race, breaking the tie with Sam Hornish Jr. He now is the all-time winner in the IndyCar Series with 20 wins. It's his 4th win this season. He also won Kansas, Milwaukee, and Richmond. Now we watch this battle for second spot as Ryan Briscoe tries to hold off Dario Franchitti. They come through corner number 13, and it's Briscoe finishing second and Dario Franchitti finishing in 3rd position, a 1-3 for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Dario will come off corner number 13 and take the green flag to get us back under racing conditions.
So I think that something we just need to look for is how guys are putting the power down off the keyhole, is who kept their tires clean and scrubbed. So when you do go to the power coming off the keyhole here, who's setting themselves up to make a good run and a pass as you get down into turn 4?
On board with Elio in 3rd.
On board with Elio. Of the top 5 guys, he's the only one on the black sidewalls.
2 leaders were on the overtake, and looked like Power thought about it. He moved his car just a little to the right.
What a stout run there for Tagliani. And what a great move they made by that sequence of pit stops. A little bit of luck.
Look at that, though, side by side. That was Dixon and Briscoe. And Dixon got the better of Briscoe.
Okay, Simona now, come on, pounce. Who's right behind him. I mean, you know, you got to take that momentum. When that guy in front of you loses momentum, get right there.
Dixon jumps to 5th.
And Power, you know, he's doing everything he can. I mean, he's staying close enough and in touch with Dario. If he has any hiccup or whatsoever, that's the window for Power to get in there.
And he's pushing him.
He is
right there.
Oh, yeah.
And Power was on the overtake button before they came out of that keyhole corner.
Yeah, Power's getting on it earlier than is Dario. And that was a little bit what he did actually in Edmonton that led to that whole scuffle down in turn number 1, is that he got on the button before Elio.
Yeah, he got on the button before anybody. You know, the corners coming onto that front straight, he was the first guy on it. You're right.
Fellas, what I'm also noticing is I've been watching the telemetry between Dario and Will, and I'm not trying to belabor left foot, right foot. But if you remember, we talked to Will Power at the top of the show. He said it allows him to do a little bit different going into the corner. I'm watching specifically down in turn 9. Will Power is able to do a little drag brake where Franchitti is either got to be on the throttle or on the brake. So Power is able to control the nose of the car just a little bit better, I think.
Well, those, you know, as you talk about that, Jack, and what you can do with just dragging your left foot on that brake, and it keeps the nose of the car down, it keeps weight on it, you know, that's just all the subtleties. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but those are just all the subtleties it takes just to be that much better, that much quicker. And each driver sets their car up for what their style is. He's close. Not close enough, but he's right there.
He's going to have one more lap to do it because they will get the white flag when they cross the finish line this time.
Dario Franchitti has one of those overtakes, and Will Power has two.
They come down and head for the carousel.
Look at Will definitely closes under braking.
Here they come off the 13th corner, and the white flag waves. One more lap to go on this 2.25 mile Mid-Ohio circuit. And Franchitti now stretches it out just a little bit. We'll see what Power is able to do here in one of the prime passing zones. Nothing.
Braking there, but you know he's going to go the overtake button.
And Power goes to it first. They both get a little bit in the dirt. Franchitti has yet to use his.
Power's
now
not close enough. He's not close enough to draft up.
And that is just about it as far as passing opportunities are concerned, but who knows?
You still stay right there. Keep pressing.
Keep in mind, Franchitti is out of overtakes. Will's got one with a recycle, give him enough time to use it.
Yep. Well, not since the Indianapolis 500 in May has he visited victory lane. But today, Dario Franchitti tightens the point race just slightly. But nevertheless, it's a win in the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio.
Scott Dixon, he's really got his work cut out for him. He's won 4 times here. He's starting last after a miscue in qualified. And guess what? He can probably get it done, but he's going to need a little bit of help, Lee.
There are some fabulous storylines today that will unfold right here in front of us, mainly thanks to a rain-affected qualifying yesterday. So it is a very different looking front grid. Sebastian Bourdais, Joseph Newgarden, Tony Kanaan tucked in behind. Bourdais will have the advantage with that inside line heading down to the very familiar turn 4 at the end of the back straight. This is the Honda Indy 200. Pagenaud gets out of line and then tucks back in. Bourdais leads them to green. Newgarden going for it on the outside. Late on the brakes, Kanaan forces his way through. And he hits and spins.
Oh, boy, you can
see. And Andretti gets him. Sato gets him.
Sato gets into Marco Andretti. Dixon gets through, but there's Tony Kanaan. Big front damage along with Marco Andretti.
And Marco right now is saying, can you believe it? On lap 39, this is where things changed in the races. Everybody dived for the pits. Scott Dixon stayed out, and he took the lead of the race from last, from 22nd and last on the grid to leading this field. And at the Ganassi headquarters, of course, there are 2 operations, one in Concord, North Carolina for the NASCAR side of things. The other is, of course, in Indianapolis. And around the offices on the 2nd floor, Chip has had a policy for many, many years where the victorious photos are displayed and the trophies so that every employee at Target Chip Ganassi Racing sees success every day.
You walk into the lobby of that place and you are just surrounded by excellence. I mean, it's incomparable over the last several seasons in IndyCar racing. And this man right here is responsible for a big chunk of that success.
Well, the 2 powerhouses in IndyCar racing have been Chip Ganassi and, of course, Roger Penske. And this is yet another win for Dixon here.
1 lap to go, 2.25 miles of the Mid-Ohio circuit. And remember that Ganassi was successful last year at the hands of Charlie Kimball, and Chip got very excited. Watch. Oops.
Lucky didn't.
We asked him if it hurt, and he said, no, of course I didn't. He was there to applaud Charlie Kimball. Today, they'll all be there to applaud this man.
Whoa, little anxiety in Mike Hull's voice about going to position 8 on fuel maps, so I hope there wasn't a surprise miscalculation, but he should be fine.
So,
well, he better be fine after the build-up we've given him.
Well, remember, for Bourdais, the closest man chasing him, he has 3 laps less fuel. However, efficiency.
And he's just coasting at this point. I mean, he built a 9-second lead, saving fuel.
Yeah, I know.
So, cruising to the checkered flag, Scott Dixon will be the 10th different winner in 2014. And for the 5th time, Dixon dominates Mid-Ohio in a first-class display of how to get it done from last to first. The defending series champion in a league of his own.
Uh-oh.
Did he only just make it?
Sage Karam backwards in turn 5, full course yellow, as Rahal's on pit lane.
The rookie facing the wrong direction, and Graham Rahal beat the pit closed in.
But Montoya didn't.
Major turning point in the complexion of this race.
Wow, wow, what an incredible piece of luck.
Well, we said it at the start, but Graham Rahal capitalized on the opportunity, and I think more than anything, what he's going to love about this final stint is his ability to demonstrate to everybody, hey, I was fast enough all along, and I deserve to be here. And much like the result at Fontana, you could argue several things, but you can't argue his pace as the white flag comes out for Graham Rahal.
1 lap to go. 2.2 miles for the 26-year-old American Graham Rahal. His dad won here 30 years ago. You remember calling David Donahue across the line at the Rolex 24 at Daytona 30 years after his late father Mark won. It means so much. And I remember here, not so long ago, a couple of years ago, Bobby saying, do you know what? Everyone always calls Graham a second-generation racer. He said, you know, my dad raced. Graham is a third-generation racer. It is in the Rahal family blood. But this young man is a sports guy. He's not just a car guy. He loves football. He loves The Ohio State University. He's a terrific golfer. He's an all-round sportsman. He's an all-round athlete. But today could be the most memorable day in his life. A Rahal wins at Mid-Ohio. It's Graham's turn. Graham Rahal victorious at his home track.
It took lap traffic to liven this one up in the final stages.
Oh, here comes Hunter-Reay. He's hungry. Hunter-Reay has a chance. Two laps left, 2 seconds down. Dixon's last lap, a 1:11.
Oh, big lockup by Marco going into the corner.
And that's Joseph Newgarden, who gets through lap traffic to close up again with Ryan Hunter-Reay.
If Dixon hangs on to win here for the 6th time, in the last 35 years, only one driver will have won more races at one single track. That's Michael Andretti at Toronto. Felix Rosenqvist is not done.
He's cleared Andretti, and he is right on his teammate. What is he going to do? What does the team ask him to do?
Laying down big tracks out of the corner. He's Rosenqvist. Is he going to go for the win? Oh, they're telling him go for it. There's no team orders. What's going to happen? He's right on the back bumper of Dixon now.
No push to pass for Rosenqvist. Dixon has 4 seconds. This is 1 lap to go.
I love it. Ganassi is letting the drivers fight it out amongst themselves. Who's the best? Who's going to get it done? The master, the 45-time winner and 5-time champion, Scott Dixon, trying to defend from his rookie teammate. They come together in the keyhole, nearly touch.
Oh, and Newgarden and Hunter-Reay get together. Oh, no. Newgarden's off. That is a huge championship implication.
That's the championship leader around, and the rest of the crowd will pick up massive points in the title fight with 4 to go after today.
And Dixon could hold off Rosenquist. This allows Dixon to close in the championship massively, but does Rosenquist get Dixon right here?
He'll look around the inside, now try to swing to the outside. The teammates are side by side. One going for win number 46, the other for number 1 in IndyCar. Dixon is still in front.
I think Dixon has it.
He's out of tires, but I don't think he can handle it.
3 more turns to go. Championship points at stake and wins at stake. Felix Rosenquist has a couple of more corners. His veteran teammate, Scott Dixon, trying to hold him up one more time. Final corner, Dixon wiggles to the line. Rosenquist on his gearbox dives into the side, and Scott Dixon will win one of the closest road course races we've seen for the 46th time and the 6th time here at Mid-Ohio. Scott Dixon has done it.
Look what's going on with Will Power, Rossi and Grosjean. Was that teammates?
And I don't know if that was Grosjean or not.
Well,
that sounded like Grosjean.
Somebody is not happy.
Full course caution waves from Grosjean.
This is Michael Andretti's worst nightmare. Team cars coming together. Check this out. So this is exiting turn 2. Alexander Rossi in the Napa Auto Nation car. Romain Grosjean on the outside.
And this was the lap before, guys. So this was Alexander Rossi. So here's the replay of this first one. This is in the keyhole. You see Grosjean all the way alongside him. He's on the red sidewall tires, leaning on each other. Rossi kind of runs him out of road there, drops the 2 wheels. And then this was the second incident a lap later. Alexander Rossi just wide in the corner. Gets into the side of the 28.
I didn't even see Rossi attempting to turn on the second half of that corner.
Yeah, he was a full car width wide of the apex there.
I think it was Grosjean trying the same move.
Yeah.
Rossi sent him a pretty strong signal on the previous lap, like, hey, you'd have to be way ahead of me at the exit for this to work. Rossi with the minimum distance. Oh, it knocked the steering wheel out of Rossi's hands. That's why he couldn't turn.
That wheel-to-wheel contact sent him straight. But teammate on teammate, that's the big no-no.
Reminiscent of Laguna Seca a little while back. Colton Herta and Alexander Rossi in that first lap. They just briefly touched and it ripped the wheel out of Rossi's hand, sent him to the inside of the racetrack.
And to be fair, these teammates have never really teamed up in this first season of working together. It hasn't been a lot of chemistry through the first half of the season at all.
And it will be the only season. As we know, Alexander Rossi is departing Andretti Autosport at the end of the season, but
off to Arrow McLaren SP.
Dev had a big moment coming out of turn 9, just like that actually. That's what sort of opened the door, but then side by side through 11 here, that would have put Dev on the dirty side. Lots of dirt on his tires as he goes side by side with Grosjean.
There's one touch with Grosjean, just a brush.
There's more to come.
Here comes the second one.
You see, Newgarden got it totally wrong coming out of 13.
Look at VK, how brave. 3 wide on the outside into turn 1.
Couldn't quite pull it off, and then Kirkwood trying to just pick up the pieces here.
If we stay with this, well, Kirkwood was complaining he got pushed off in turn 2.
It's a huge oversteer moment from Newgarden. So Dev's trying to stay out of Newgarden, crowding Grosjean on the inside, and then hip checks VK into 1. Man, that was manic. As look at the live pictures, Grosjean trying on the outside of Devlin DiFrancesco into turn 4. He's got it done.
By the way, we're not talking about scrapping over a podium spot. This is back in 13th, 14th, 15th, etc. IndyCar drivers fight hard, and 2 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. 3rd place, Will Power. 4th place, Christian Lundgaard. That would be a season best equaling finish if he can hold off this man here in the 33s. Scott McLaughlin, the defending race winner, he won't defend that win. It's too tough, there's too big a gap. He's 20 seconds behind Alex Palou.
McLaughlin has 10 seconds more push to pass with a lap and a half to go over Christian Lundgaard, so he can start to use that button liberally and see if he can make something happen.
Thinking back to the head of this field again, I've been watching the gap between Palou and Dixon start to fall down. I was impressed with how much he had broken out from Scott Dixon, a 6-time winner here, and then I thought, oh, it's because he's caught some traffic. Who has he caught? He has caught Connor Daly, who is nose to tail with Ryan Hunter-Ray in the car that he was driving only 2 races ago.
He would definitely like to get ahead of that 20. You saw the white flag. There's just 2.25 miles to go for Alex Palou. Meanwhile, outside the top 10, the gloves are still off. There has been some hard racing. Rinus VK.
This might be enough for VK if he doesn't get pushed wide, but no, he does. DeFrancesco, pretty clever, taking away the option for Rinus VK. Meanwhile, Kirkwood ready to pounce.
But don't forget, Calamilot right behind Kirkwood goes by now into 9. Brave move there. Kirkwood had some sort of issue, I think.
So Alex Palou is guiding the American Legion Honda home. It's going to give Chip Ganassi Racing its 12th victory here at Mid-Ohio. That ties Team Penske for the most of any racing organization here. It gives Alex his 4th win on the season. More importantly, 3 in a row. Hello, Palou. Alex does it again. Extends his championship lead and wins here at Mid-Ohio.